it's very clear that Russia has its own interest and even its own state apparatus that serves as a propaganda, but we don't seem to give that same kind of classification to our sort of media. Recently, Russia Today was completely banned. We live in a society where freedom of speech tends to be used to justify a lot of speeches that might not be necessarily agreeable. But as soon as geopolitical interests are talked about or are on the table, we see that gets thrown totally out of the window. Sort of what we want to show is, or what we want to question is, sort of the geopolitical interests that exist on both sides, because at the end of the day, the mainstream media doesn't necessarily represent us, even when talking about things locally. We want to present this sort of critical eye as to how the media reports things in the exterior. There's the example recently the Russian forces bombed a hospital in Mariupol, and it was denounced worldwide as a war crime. Rightly so, of course, but there are examples of things like that happening in Afghanistan, for example, where the United States does the exact same thing, but it is justified by the government and, more importantly, reported by the media as being a series of human errors, right? The same war crime caused by the Russians on our side is simply regarded as a human error and tragic, instead of anything particularly alarming. So we can see that there's a double standard here that the Western media has, which is understood when you think about the fact that the medias are financed by the governments, or subsidized rather, and financed by big companies, and often the people that have interests in media have interests in war profiteering, the military industrial complex.